Hello everyone and welcome to this video where we're going to talk about the brand new update that just hit Stormworks, the Sailing Major Update. Now, for about as long as I can remember, people have been requesting sails and we finally got them. Take a look at those physics. So now we can utilize and harness wind energy and propel our ships and other creations. So we're going to jump into the notes and then we're going to see what exactly we got and what this means. Yes, I'm aware you can read, but we're going to go through this and talk about some items. So, the major update for sailing is out now, and what does it give us? So, it says, vehicles with sails are now possible with new sail anchors. Link 4 anchors together with ropes to generate a sail, just like the fishing nets, okay? In the style of Stormworks, these new parts are modular, so players can use and arrange them as they wish, create a huge variety of styles, setups, creations, all that good stuff. The sails will respond to the wind, and various physical effects including wing type effect will go through the sails at an angle and of course propel your ship or creation. You could use this in land-based creations if you so desire. So it says that the sailing boats can travel at a top end of realistic speeds in moderate wind. Keels have also been added to help balance the ships, keep the masts upright despite the wind forces on the sails. We talked about this in my other video where I went through and kind of gave my prediction for what this will look like. And we received the flags. That was a major thing people were talking about and kind of a nice little benefit or add-on to this. Not the main deal, but certainly something that has been, I'd say, a long time coming and is awesome. So they also added a new sailboat preset to kind of show how this works. And of course, actual sailing designs are fine-tuned and require a lot of work and effort and balancing, proportion, all that good stuff to make sure that your sailing boat can be propelled properly. So that's the update itself. And down here it says they've added the sails, flags, keels. Sails can be formed with 4 sail anchors in a square, similar to the fishing nets. Logic node on the sail anchor allows the sails to adjust. Keels required, and the flags. Here we are in the game exploring our new parts. So as you can see, we got some keels, we got the actual sail, and we got some of these sticks that are flags. Now, when there's no wind, everything just kind of stays put, but if we apply wind, then of course you'll get some motion. If we turn up the wind, you'll see that our flags and our sails start to pick up a little. Now granted, inside here, they don't actually get much wind, but if we push this whole thing outward, you will get much more wind. So these are the new parts we received, and first we're going to talk about this. Thank you so much, developers, for putting an official 454SS flag here in the game. It really means a lot to have made an impact on the community and for being a presence here and having a flag. That is super cool. I really am grateful and happy for that. It means a lot. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to the community who supported and got me to where I am. Really appreciate it. So, we have a couple new things here. First, we're going to talk about the flags. So, it come in a variety of different sizes, but what is neat is that the hitbox is only where kind of the stick is, of course. So, this area, while the flag is there, you can put it right up against something. Now, it does kind of have a direction arrow that when you place it, it kind of shows the direction it could be, but of course, depending on the wind, it will float in different directions. And we have a variety of different things. So when you select kind of a stock flag and place it down, you can select obviously a bunch of different colors, and then we have a lot of different countries. That's super cool. And then if you keep going through here, you get a bunch of other stuff, including the community where it shows you my logo. So really grateful and happy for that. 3 different sizes, and if you just type in flag, you can kind of see here it says small and medium and large. Quite self-explanatory, nothing crazy there, but a really welcome addition to the game. We're going to talk about keels next. We got 3 different keels, obviously different sizes, and no, there is no logic to them, and no, you cannot select them, so they're just there, they exist, they get painted uniformly, you can't change the color individually of the different parts, but they do, and if you type in keel here, you can see they all have the same description, It resists the rolling forces while submerged to keep a boat upright and stable. It also resists lateral sliding forces from the wind pushing at you, so it keeps you propelling forward. And it says that when combined with the sail, you can move forward in a crosswind or even upwind. So we have that 500 mass, 1000 mass, 2000 mass. So 3 different sizes, quite self-explanatory. We're going to see how they work. And last but not least, we have the sail anchor. Now, funny enough, you can actually select it, though granted it doesn't do anything. Not quite sure why, but what it does let us do is actually change the color. If you can color these things, you can actually change the color of the sail. So you can end up with multicolored sails. I haven't quite figured out how to set the color, like which one you paint. I mean, if I just hit this one now in the top left, I've changed the color of everything, even though the rest are still bright green. If I hit this one with blue and go here, it still stays red. So I'm not sure how the game decided which of the anchors is kind of the main one, I suppose. So if I want to change it to blue and do that and go here, now it's blue. So anyway, you can play around a little bit and end up selecting the color of the sail. That's really neat, but we're not here to talk about the color. We're here to talk about the actual thing itself. So if we go into the sail anchor, it has a description. It says that it draws a rope between 4 sail anchors to form a sail. It'll convert the force from wind into the direction the sail is facing. The sail force is strongest when fully facing the wind to act as a parachute, but it also has a strong force when facing slightly off at a right angle from the wind to act as a wing. And then it says the keel's recommended to actually propel you in the direction you want to go. Otherwise, I imagine the second that your sail hits like this, it'll just move in that direction. So here, you don't have a composite electrical whatever, but you do have a data, and it is an on-off. It's to allow the ropes forming the sail to spool freely, so that's something important. And we of course have the rope, and we got to connect 4 of them to form a sail. Now you can see the on-off button here. It's similar but different from the fishing net, which has a extend retract. This just has the single one. Inside the presets, we have our sailing boat, and you could see that it is actually a really nice build. It has an interior with some kind of seating and stuff. I think it has a washroom here, which is quite clever. And over here it has another bed. So a useful creation for sure. You could use it as a starting boat. I don't know about the height, but for sure the size of it is a good size. Now, primarily what this will allow us to do is test out what we want to do. First things first, let's change these flags to something that's more suitable. We'll jump to the country flags and go to Canada and the 454 SS. So those flags are easy to change. Now down here, you can see how they've arranged the rope. So this is the sail, and it's attached to a series of pivots and other things that can move around. So here's the sail, and when I press this button, the sail kind of flops down and becomes a little more free to move in the wind. You could walk right through these, you could walk right through the flags. Interesting enough, when you release this button, you don't see this thing jumping or springing back up into shape, so it seems that you may have to manually do it. I'm not quite sure, but you could see that pressing it again doesn't do anything. It was only the first time and it dropped down. I'll definitely have to figure it out through trial and error and such, but you can see the first time when you release it, it opens up. So maybe it either gives you a choice of being kind of taut or being loose, and then you just have a constant on or whatever, and it kind of folds open and becomes loose. So that's going to be a learning process for sure. You can see here on the example boat that take in, take out sails is just constant on. So they're just using a constant on for that and having the sails kind of drop down. Now the mechanisms used on this boat are really cool. You can see that they actually have a slider here that can extend out and form kind of the big sail here. And then over here, instead of that, they have a pivot that can drop down and form the front sail here, or the jib sail. So that's neat. remember how they said they were only having 3 points, or 4 points, sorry, and not 3 points? So you couldn't have a triangular sail, if you will. Well, through connecting these in a certain way, especially having kind of a midpoint, you actually can have a 3-point sail or triangular sail, just not in the way you'd expect. So spawning the boat in, you could see it looks like this. The sails are kind of floating around, but they are not extended, so all of these things being closed as they are prevent the sails from opening fully. The sailing boat itself is pretty cool. It does have a little motor here, and you can see it has the propeller. Now down there you see a small keel, and you do have forward propulsion, so that's really neat. Of course, that shouldn't be the primary source of energy for such a thing, so you can see you can move the jib crane around, and that kind of spins it around. But then when you do this, that's what really extends it. So now with the jib sail out, we can open up our mainsail. Now you can see right away that little bit of wind is kind of pushing us. And I'll explain how to control this thing in a second. But first, let's open up that mainsail. So if we do this and pull that slider open, you can see this all extends. So no, it's not a real triangle, but it's pretty close. I would say that this is the same effect. And of course, then you can move this about. Knowing the wind direction is vital for sailing. Now, I'm by no means a sailor or know how to operate a sailing vessel, but what I'm going to do is turn on the wind here, and you could see the direction it's moving in. So yes, we'll just fudge the direction for our example here. We're going to set it to push us outwards. So let's see. All right, there we go. So you can see my little wind sensor there is showing the direction. Now, of course, the easiest way is to just travel purely downwind. Now, keep in mind I'm using my rudder here and a little bit of my motor. But what you can do now is position your sails. So the sail position is going to determine how your vessel moves. Now, obviously, also on extremely high winds or higher winds, you may have some glitching or bugs, but in essence, you can see how you can push this and the sail will kind of billow out in the wind, and that tells you that you're pretty much doing it right if that sail is moving. Now, take a look at our speed. We're going 6 knots. We're kind of climbing in speed, which is good. Now the wind is pretty calm at this point. Let's turn it up to like 30 here and see what happens. So this is a little more powerful. And as we're going now, you can see we're hitting 10 knots, so that's not bad. Now we are pitching heavily forward. That could just be sort of what we have to work with the sails. I'm not that familiar, but I am using the rudder to steer. Now, if you don't want to use the rudder to steer, you can see the boat is going to start to move out in kind of directions, and at that point you have to start to move the sails until they find themselves in a position that will help you travel. So there are obviously a wide range of positions you can set your sails to that will help your travels. And I do love that it's not just as simple as jump in and operate a sailboat. It does have some thought process behind it. As you can see, they modeled it off of real life sailing, and even just to position the sails where the wind is pushing us in the direction we want to go. Now, of course, I'm just going literally downwind, which is about the easiest thing you can do. But if you want to steer, you adjust these and adjust that, and hopefully it gets you kind of able to turn. You can see now we're turning to the right there. But the neat thing with sailing, as in real life, is that it is a very intensive type of activity. You don't just have the ability to throw it on, have direction hold, and go. You do have to make minor adjustments. Now, that's not saying that you can't make automatic adjusting sails that will hold your heading. I'm just saying that in its primitive form, such as this, you do require micro adjustments and all kinds of things to help you go in the direction you want. So you can see here that we are using that, and we've even kind of slowed down. Now we're speeding back up. So it is rewarding getting the sailing working, I definitely think, but it will take some trial and error. Now, I did say we're just going to quickly look at this boat. You can see it has this kind of room with the seat. To me, it looks like a washroom. We do have lights, power, kind of a little bedroom, another bed over here, and just a neat little interior. Nothing too crazy about the standard Stormworks, call it detail, but you can make your way around the vessel. You have that hopper and a fishing rod, so as it is, you could take this creation out and start to explore Stormworks by sail power. So, really neat update. I do have to say, I love it. I love the idea that it comes with, and I love the practical application of it. The sails look great, and it adds a whole new type of functionality to the game. So, love that every time I see that. The question on everyone's mind might be what happens if we remove the keel and see what the ship looks like. So without the keel, I'd expect it to be a lot, very unstable and pretty much unusable. As you can see here, the boat falls over right away. So that keel is instrumental in using a sailboat, it seems. How about using a keel in a non-sailboat? Over here, you can see that I have a lot of weight and things. In some of these boats, I even have a mast block that's supposed to move around like this and stabilize the boat. So this prevents the thing from tipping over. Well, what if I put a keel on the bottom of it? I don't think anything larger than a small one is necessary. I'm gonna go ahead and delete these mast blocks here that used to prevent the boat from tipping over. And let's see what other masts I may have. None. Alright, let's see what happens here. But what I do see is that the keel slowed down this boat substantially. Now, yes, it is riding lower in the water, so there's more water friction and all that stuff, but we're hitting 10 knots. So it is possible that putting a keel on a boat transforms it, in essence, into a sailboat that prevents kind of heavy listing and things, which would make sense. I mean, you can't have it all, and they've added a whole new component to the game. For your reference, this is the boat without a keel, so you could see that I do have that stability, so it is kind of good, but you could see it lists a little bit as it turns, as expected. Probably the most drastic example is the Uvala, which has a bunch of weight on the bottom, and it has the active stabilization. So if I remove all this stuff in favor of just regular blocks, and if I go into the vessel and remove my active stabilization, this will give us a fairly good example. Now, without anything, without weights and without that, I'd expect this thing to be very top heavy and kind of wanting to tip over the second it gets a chance. So like in this case, you could see that it is moving about and even kind of just listing when it's stopped. So let's see how this transforms the behavior with the keel. So our speed drastically reduced. It's actually stalling out, first of all. But you could see that it does keep it stable now. I'm going to hold extra power here, power boost. So we're now using battery power, but that's okay. If I turn, it pretty much keeps a perfect stability. So in essence, to me, it looks like it makes the boat into like a gimbal type situation where it's just very stable due to that piece. The last test will be what the sailing looks like on a land vehicle. Now here we have our electric version of the Buckle Rodeo, and let's be even more energy friendly and go with a sailing version. So in this case, if we add the sail anchors to the ends here, as such, and here, and then just attach all 4 of these. Now what I will do also is this take in and out, I will apply it to a button. Let's make it our dome light button, just to see what happens as far as the wind effect is concerned. Alright, there's our truck. Well, first things first, if I drive, I imagine that it's going to cause some issues moving forward, like that. So it does prevent me from driving. And if I press the dome light button, that will kind of expand even more. So it obviously is impractical to have fully opened in this form. But what if we turn on wind? Now the wind is in this direction, so let's position ourselves like this. And let's brake. Oh, and off we go. In fact, too good. It just tips us right over. But that was me also braking, so if I press acceleration, I can get some forward motion, backward motion, so possible to still propel a land-based vehicle. You just have to be careful with positioning the sails in a manner that they'll get you forward motion, and of course the movement, and to be able to also restrict them or take them down if you are planning on driving, of course. So thank you all for watching. I do want to thank my Discord community. I do want to thank my YouTube members and my Discord server boosters, and I do want to thank the Stormworks developers for making this game and adding my own little logo there for the flags. That's really cool. So thank you all for watching. Hopefully you learned something new here. Hopefully you saw something that interests you. I think the sails have a ton of potential, so I really am excited to see all the creations that sailing brings, and can't wait to see your comments as well, what you guys think of it. So thank you for watching, and see you next time.